Objectives today, we've got four big ones that we're going to go over, and that's discovering just how customizations can really transform the Dynamics 365 field service out of the box capabilities. That is our main goal today. These other sessions kind of line up, other topics, sorry, try to kind of line up, fall under that because the whole point is to get you thinking about what more you can do with field service. So the second point is to think about integration to expand the capabilities, and we'll go over that with payment collection. And then answer the age-old question that I've been seeing a lot with my customers is how can I make my other processes align with the field service process? Field service has a pretty extensive kind of baked-in process where you have to go through things a certain way. And so everyone wants to know how do we get our other processes to work with that, or how can we modify field service that way everything flows a lot smoother between the field service process and the case process or the sales process and things of that nature. We're also going to learn a little bit about customer voice and some other review collection tools to enhance your customer experience. So stay tuned for that. Our agenda today. I am going to go over a few assumptions. So this is not a base 101 field service course, just so you are aware. This is going to, I'm going to go over the assumption on the next page, but basically we are assuming some level of knowledge here. We are going to go over some general automations that you can use today if you start thinking of some great ideas, but also when and when not to use automations in field service because that is very important. Then we're going to go over connecting you to the sales process, getting your sales agents able to see what's going on in service if desired, and how the best way to kind of solution that. And the transition, the handoff between sales and service if you are selling services or install things of that nature. Then we're going to go over on-site payment collection, and that's where we're really going to talk about integration and how we can kind of enhance field service and the best way to kind of solution that if you don't have integration. And then last, we're going to go over customer reviews and some good ways to collect those and some of the out-of-the-box techniques we can use that aren't necessarily field service out of the box, but are customer voice and Power Automate out of the box. As I mentioned, here are the two biggest assumptions coming into this meeting for hopefully all of you attendees. You either have field service installed, you've been using it, right? You're either in the process of setting up field service, so you may have an active project going, or you have thoroughly researched its out-of-the-box capabilities. I'm going to go over a lot today about field service and customizations to field service. I'm not going to be touching on the out of the box things. I'm going to assume we know about that, right? We've got field service and we want to improve it, which leads me to my second assumption. There's something about field service right now that you're using that isn't working too well for you. You want to upgrade it, you want to move forward, you want to connect it to other processes, get some add-ons, applications, things of that nature. So that's where this session is going to be focused towards, really geared towards. And we're going to jump right in to our general automations. Now, there's a lot of text on this slide. I do apologize, and I'm not going to read it right off here, but I will leave it up for a while as I talk you through this. So when to use automations is very, very important in field service because there are a lot of baked in out-of-the-box automations that run in the background, obviously, for field service to work. I'll go over those a little bit in the next slide, but here are some good points on when to use automation. And when I mention automation, I'm speaking about Power Automate or real-time workflows, things of that nature. Microsoft is in the process of deprecating those old out-of-the-box background workflows in favor of Power Automate. So we're going to try to gear everything towards that realm instead of using those background workflows. At Create is a really, really good spot, especially when it comes to connecting it to other processes. You can use Power Automate to create work orders, and I've also seen it used to populate fields shortly after Create based on conditional logic, such as a work order type or a person assigned to it, things of that nature, or where it's being done at, if it's offsite, if there's a functional location associated to it, or depending on a customer asset assigned to it. Can fill in certain fields on that work order for you to help save you some admin work. There are not, I don't think, any really out of the box processes running on Create so this is a really good time to run those, that we are not interfering and loading up resources for your out of the box stuff. Another great time to do it is before scheduling. So a lot of people think you just make that work order and go ahead and schedule it. But oftentimes there's a time between where a service admin may create that work order. Then he's got to wait a couple days to find time for that to be scheduled for someone before he actually drags and drops it on that awesome schedule board to schedule it. And so automation is a great place here to assign work orders for you based off the skills and roles held in the system. So there is a skills table for resources where you can assign people kind of skill records. If you're not utilizing that, I would definitely look into it. It helps with the out-of-the-box scheduling automation, as well as this use case here on when to assign it to certain people. So then you can obviously use the schedule board once you have that assigned to the person to go ahead and schedule it for that resource. Another good spot, but I will say it's a gray area, is on completion. And so I say it's a gray area because there are, as I mentioned, out of the box automations that do run on completion of a work order. So when you complete a work order, what it's doing is, well, actually, when you complete a booking for a work order, what it's doing is it completes that booking and then it completes that work order. And that is what creates then an invoice in the system. So there are a couple triggers that happen there. And so you want to try not to add too much automation here on completion because there are other things running and you don't want to slow your system down, especially on completion because that's happening in the field. If it were something happening in the office, those will get completed later, then I'd say go for it because the resources you have in the office for your system computer are higher than on the mobile app. But most of the time, these are being completed in the field by a field service technician. But a great use case here is for sending those automations for your email follow-ups or your surveys for the customer reviews, or even to your sales team to let them know, hey, that job that you sold, that's completed now. So you can go ahead and reach out to the client, be that customer-facing person, ask them how it went, make sure they were satisfied with everything, and then, push them to complete the review and things of that nature. The last spot I would say is another really good spot is just around resources in the system in general. Those resources that you set up, not the backend resources we were just talking about. So some of your resources have certifications and skills, like I mentioned, or licenses that may be stored in the system that do expire. So if you're not using the skills table, if you're using like a Word document or something that you're just uploading, or a PDF, a picture of that certification, you can use automation around those as well. I would recommend using the skills table and using automation around that though. And I would say you can use it to then alert you that their certification is about to expire. You can do within 30 days or 15 days or 5 days. And then if it does expire, you can actually have it remove that skill from them so you're not accidentally scheduling resources with expired certifications and getting yourself into some trouble there. So there's a lot of different use cases on when to use automation and some great different spots, but there's also some things you need to know about of when not to use automation. So we're going to jump into that. And here's just the main one that I just want to mention here. They've got several built-in background processes, especially when it comes to using the mobile app. So when that service tech is on site, there's a lot of stuff happening in the back end as he changes from the status of scheduled to traveling. And it logs a booking journal saying that he is traveling. All that happens in the back end for you. Then when he changes from traveling to in progress, again, more back end processes to log booking journals to update the work order, say it's in progress. When he goes from in progress to completed, again, like 3 different automations are running there to log a booking journal, to update the work order, to create an invoice. So you want to avoid putting more automations around the same triggers because they're all going to try to run at the same time, and that's going to load your system down with resources being used, the backend resources, and that's going to actually slow screen changes and things of that nature, which you don't want to do, especially on site, because then you can run into connectivity issues and things of that nature. So if you are going to do automations, do a status change because it's like absolutely needed. You need to log something when he says in progress, or you want to send a notification to your salesperson when he puts in traveling so they can call the client and let them know, or you want to send the client an email directly when he changes to in travel. I've seen that as well. A good thing to do is use some other things in the system to help get that job done, like a business rule or a plugin to kind of change the trigger so you're not going right off of that in progress and running your background processes all at the same time. You're kind of giving it a delay, a couple seconds there to let Power Automate handle it in the background instead of relying on the system background workflows that's going to tie up a lot of your resources. That's what I'll give there for that general kind of use there of when not to use them. There are some other areas where you see the automation, like with scheduling optimization and stuff, but usually the main ones I see customers run into is they want to put a lot of automations around these status changes, and I would just let you know, be wary of how you set that up because you don't want to tie your system down too much. That being said, let's jump right into how we connect our field service to our sales process, because a lot of the times from what I've seen from customers, is they don't want their technicians, the people doing the work orders and completing those bookings, having to do a lot of front end work with creating work orders. They don't want them to have to, add the products, things like that. Usually they have a service admin who sets it all up for them, then just hands it off to the technician. Well, the service admin also needs some help on when should I set up these work orders? How are they being created? Things of that nature. And so a lot of times we end up plugging in the beginning process of field service to the sales process, which I think is great because usually you are selling something to a customer, selling them a service, selling them a product that comes with the service or things of that nature. And then you are going out and doing these things. So a great time to put that in, I would say, is the quoting process. I have seen this done pretty well effectively here, is by adding it to the quote directly, a link between that quote and a work order by using automation to go ahead and create you a work order from that quote based off of conditions or a toggle the salesperson can do. And then it will link the work order to the quote, through that automation. And what this gives you the ability to do is say, when that salesperson wins that quote and creates that sales order, we can now move that work order to a new status, pump it forward. So that way service can then start working on scheduling that and getting that put out. And what it does is it actually creates a nice pipeline for service based on your sales pipeline. So before this, right, service only knows when stuff's coming in as a sale is made, and they have no kind of pre-thought into that. They don't know if sales is about to make a sale. They don't know if they're about to close. They have kind of no insight there. Where now, if you connect these together, it gives you insight because now you can see quoted kind of work orders here in a special view. If you give them a special status of work orders that could be coming down the pipeline, that could eventually turn into full-fledged work orders that you are going to want to then schedule out with your technicians. So it helps service, give them visibility to the pipeline. It helps sales as well. Once you have added that relationship between quotes and work orders, you can, use a couple automation there. But then the second bullet here is relate your sales orders to work orders. Once you have your sales order created, if you had a work order from that quote, go ahead and just bring it over with the out-of-the-box mapping. It allows you to connect your sales orders to that work order then, and then your salespeople can track what's going on with work orders. They can add into the related columns of views, as I'm sure you guys are experienced in making your own views, but you can add columns for related entities, and then you can say, all right, show me the progress or show me the status of that work order. They can see that it's been scheduled or that it's in progress, that it's traveling. Because remember, as a tech updates his booking, that work order gets updated, which means now sales is going to see that real time on his end without having to dig around or call the tech or a service admin or a dispatcher and say, hey, where's the tech? Is he on his way? Is he in progress? My customer's asking questions, because usually the customer's facing that salesperson. They're the customer facing person in an organization. They may not be talking to a service admin or dispatcher directly. So depending on how you have your organization set up, these are two great ways to tie in your sales process to your service process. Now, this is obviously not a use case for every company. Some start in service and end in service. They don't need sales at all because they do specific maintenance work and things of that nature. So obviously this may not apply to you, but for those of you who do sell services or installs or maintenance plan, things of that nature, where you sell that actual product and do it that way, or you sell a product with a service, this is a good way to tie those two pipelines together. The next part we're going to talk about here is on-site payment collection. So now that we've tied those two processes together, right, we've got our technician scheduled, we've got the right one because we use our awesome automation to find the skills and certifications needed. We use the out-of-the-box schedule board optimization to populate the best time to send him out there, right? So we've got him on the job and he's completed it. The problem I see a lot of clients face is field service out of the box, unfortunately, does not have a payment collection kind of set up here. It goes right from completing the work order to an invoice. It expects you to do invoicing, through CE or connecting to an ERP platform, which I have done, which we'll talk about for the credit card. But it doesn't have a great way to collect on-site payments for the tech to do that. And a lot of clients ask for that. So I gave a couple solutions here on how you can accomplish that. And the first one is cash, which I would stay away from, but I know people like to pay in cash. But what we did was we can add fields for that cash amount collected and then a customer signature field. And basically the tech would put in, I'm collecting $200 of cash. He would show it to the customer. They would sign off on it with their finger or pen, on the iPad, the mobile app there. And then when they save that signature, it locks those two fields down. So the money collected is locked down. The signature selected, is locked down. And now we have that, accountability there for the technician to bring that amount back. We also add column level security then for a sales manager only to mark a checkbox that this has been approved or collected from the technician. So that way, when the technician brings that money back, the manager can say, yes, I have collected $200 from him. Now it's on his plate, and that is approved. You can set up some great views to kind of gain insight into this. You can see what work orders are being paid with cash, by percentage. You can see which ones aren't approved yet. So you can kind of see which ones are coming back that day with cash. You can kind of keep on top of them and say, hey, I saw you collected cash, while you were out in the field. Go ahead and give me that money there. Let me check those off for you. So a lot of views and stuff you'll have to set up to really make that work. A couple field additions, but all in all, very easy setup, nothing crazy to get that process going for you. Just a matter of adding those and then doing some training. The second option I would say is the next best, which is check, which is all you really have to do is add a field for that check number and the amount, and have the customer sign off again, and then lock those fields with the business rules. So that's the easiest way there, because now you have like an actual document, right? That check number that is then handed back to the service manager. He can verify the check number, he can verify the amount, less chance of something going wrong there between the handoff. So I do recommend kind of that approach, but as you know, most people today are using electronic payments, and so that's what brings us in here to credit card. Here, I will say integration is required, whether that's to an ERP platform like Business Central or a third-party system that allows you to take credit card payments and stores those secrets and tokens and everything. So just kind of keep that in mind, but definitely think about expanding it if you are wanting to do on-site payments. I do think that's the best bet to go is through integration, but here I've got, you can integrate with a third-party credit card payment system, such as we use Business Central in the past here with iPayment setup. And so that would then generate a link for the customer to click on in the booking. The field service person can pull up that link, click it, and then it gives them the ability to enter the credit card information right into the iPayment setup. So that way CE is not storing any credit card information about the customer. Business Central is not storing this credit card information, all that kind of personal information that you want to keep locked down. That all falls onto iPayments and their security model. That way, if for whatever reason you have a cyber attack or something happens and you're hacked, you are not liable at risk for those credit card information getting out, things of that nature. However, you can, if you do want to store payments, things like that for recurring payments, you can set stuff up in the system for that with column level security and hide those fields, values, and things of that nature from general users, but then admins can see it. It's just opens you up to more security and liability, things of that nature. But that's how I'd recommend using the integration there with the Business Central and some iPayments in order to get your credit card collection in the field there. The last thing I'm really going to go over here is about collecting customer reviews. So a lot of people don't utilize this, and I feel like they really should know about it, because customer voice actually has some templates for work orders and service specifically. So they utilize Power Automate templates as well out of the box, like when a work order is completed. Another backend process, again, that runs on status change, but they run that, and then they have a very generic, just kind of out of the box survey that it sends. And so using that Power Automate with this template, all you have to do is really update the template, and you've got a full-fledged working system there where now as soon as you complete a work order, boom, a survey goes out to the customer to fill it out. Here I recommend keeping it short and sweet. Just give them a star rating and a comment box so they can put in something, because that's going to give you the most chance of them filling it out, and then really the information that you want to then replicate that on your website. If they give you a 5-star review and they leave a bunch of comments, that gives you the ability to then put that on your website, look really good. If they give you a 1-star review, and some worse comments, that now you can try to work on improving that, and it doesn't necessarily go live right on a website right away if someone is just being a bad consumer and things of that nature, as we have seen. So it gives you a little bit of control there. You can also, if you really want to, integrate your current customer website and some web pages for use. Microsoft does give you the ability to set up custom web pages that we can then populate in front of the user or pull up in front of them when they click a button or click a link. And so you can have that link to your website if you want to get really technical, or just put a link to your website, which is the easiest build. Put a link to your website right there on the work order booking for the technician to click, and then it'll pull up the website, click on reviews, and have the user go ahead and fill out a review right then and there. Totally up to you. The last one I would go over is Google reviews, which is a great option because you can actually grab a link from inside a Google review. Then use that link to then email out to the customer right then and there. You can put a little toggle, say, hey, do you want to receive a Google review? If they say yes, you flip the toggle. That's sending in the background while your service tech is finishing up, getting that invoice ready to collect a payment, things of that nature. The customer is now getting that email review, and all they have to do is click the link. Boom, pops up with a little 5-star rating. You know, the stars. Do you want to give them a 5-star? Leave a little comment, and it logs in for them if they've already logged in on their cell phone. If they're not logged in, it does prompt them, which is great. And Google handles all of that, so you don't have to worry about coding anything like that. You're just grabbing a link, sending it via Power Automate email, things of that nature. So definitely take advantage of that great stuff. We are running close to time here, and I do just want to mention on this last slide here, I want to give a huge shout out to our support because I've seen them do some pretty great, awesome stuff for our clients, especially in this area with some customizing out of the box stuff. So all the stuff I mentioned today is things we have done for actual clients. So if you got your interest perked and you kind of want to hear more or start designing something for you, definitely take advantage of some of our architecture workflow and efficiency guidance there, some development, some functional design. I will say the most underutilized aspect of support is our training. We do a bunch of great training. So when we want to teach you how to fish, I talked about a lot of great Power Automates that you can do today, and they are not as hard to set up as you would think. We could give you an admin training on Power Automate for someone who's more tech savvy in your organization to help, like a CRM admin to help you guys learn how to do that so you can set those up for yourself and not always have to reach out. Obviously, we love it when you reach out. We would love to help you with any of your stuff, but we also want to teach you to set up these things up as well, and teach you how to do that, and so that you can, help your business move forward without having to always give us a call. We're always happy to take the call though if you want to help with design, solution, architect, things of that nature, and something as simple as the Power Automate we can show you as well.